This is the 23rd of September 2014, and this is the audio podcast, show 130, the never ending. And I must warn you that there is no wittiness about this week's title.
Well, that's okay. There's also no Adam Yance, but I'm Samuel Freeman. I'm here. That's Scott Hewitt. And show 130, the show notes are online at theaudiopodcast.co.uk/130.
Don't forget you can find the audio podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Gpodder, Stitcher, and various other places where you wish to. It's all cool. There we go. Let's get straight into the news. First news item, a Cubasis update. There we go. If you're an iOS user and you've recently gone to iOS 8, then Steinberg have released a Cubasis update, which now supports iOS 8 as well as AudioBus 2.1.3. So that's kind of cool.
Very good. Do you know about the iOS thing? Because the AudioBus recently was saying if you want to upgrade to the latest version before 1.8, then to do it soon. Has that passed already? Who knows?
Yeah, if you wanted to get to the latest 1.7 release, you had to do that before the 1.8 release happened, because it's always a problem with Apple products. Well, always a problem with Apple. If you want to update to not the most up-to-date version, things become very difficult very quickly. And I think AudioBus were just reflecting the fact that all of the 1.7, all of the OS 7 branch stuff was pretty well thought out and under control and tested and all the rest of it. Whereas iOS 8 has obviously been in the wild for very little and for a very short time, and there's going to be lots of little bugs and problems coming from there. But Cubasis obviously have pushed out the update, and for people who have gone to iOS 8, maybe not even intentionally, it just happened on them, then here's a Cubasis update which now supports iOS 8, which is cool. We also should apologize, perhaps. We do miss things every now and again, and Cubase and Nuendo both actually had maintenance releases last week as well. So they've been bumped up as well.
We did indeed. So, yeah, that's Cubase 1.7, well, 7.5.3 is what we missed. Oh well.
Yeah. There we go. They were just maintenance updates, so there aren't new features or anything like that. My camera is just really wobbly. There we go. It's better balanced now. Sorry. For everybody who isn't on YouTube, it doesn't really matter right now. There we go. Yeah, they're just maintenance updates. Normally we spot them as they go by, but they didn't. Yeah, I have to be honest, I just missed them last week. So it's very poor of me. They're there, so we just mentioned it. If you've got something that you do, regularly and it doesn't work or it's buggy, then you probably are interested in the maintenance update. If everything you try and do currently works fine and you never have any problems, then why update to see what new thing could be broken?
Yes, indeed. Okay, more new things from Universal Audio. UAD 2 Octo and 3. This is their DSP accelerators. So this is software to run on their cards and their forthcoming, is it, FireWire stuff, the Thunderbolt things?
Yes. So I wrote this story and then realized that I'd missed the point of their press release as well, which I thought was quite funny. So I went back and added the final explanation in. So there's two elements here. Universal Audio have released a new bundle. This is the Ultimate Bundle 3, which comes with all of their plugins and loads of other plugins from other people, and is now available as a new software bundle. And on the side of that story is also the fact that there are some new hardware turning up as well, of which the UAD 2 Octo PCI is already available, and the Thunderbolt Octo DPS accelerator will be shipping in October. So new hardware from Universal Audio and a new software bundle to run on top of the new hardware as well, which is cool. Universal Audio, it's a company I think I don't think we cover them very well, or I'll reflect more on that. I don't think I cover them very well because they represent a scale of kind of DSP hardware acceleration that I don't usually work with on a kind of regular basis, because it's so special. It's incredibly specialized and very expensive, which means that I think building a business on top of the availability of a niche product in that sort of sphere is, for a particular, it's for a particular kind of business, and that's not the kind of thing I'm involved in particularly. So, there you go.
No,
but they're cool. It's cool DSP processing. Every time I've played with one, I've been like, this is awesome.
Yep. It reminds me of early DigiDesign stuff. The fact that back in the day, the computer processor couldn't possibly handle DSP, and so you had external DSP chips to handle that. But now with the faster processors inside our laptops and pockets, it's all you know, you don't need it, but then there's still these external things that can go even faster and even more specialized for that task. So while your computer's thinking about its operating system and the GUIs, the actual digital signal processing can be happening somewhere dedicated. I think it's cool that it exists, but likewise, it's not something I actually have any hands-on experience with. Hey?
It's still worth playing, still worth checking out though, and yeah, it is impressive. Like every time I play with it, I'm like, it's cool. Every time I get the opportunity just to do something extra with extra, like various places, it's always a lot of fun to do it, and it's always really interesting. And you can definitely hear the kind of sonic quality in what you're doing. At the same point, if I remember correctly, you're looking at multiple thousands of dollars for this kind of product here, which is where for kind of particular boutique situations, it's absolutely it's essential and it's really cool stuff to work with. But for for the kind of work I do, which is much more about getting it done quickly and being able to do it anywhere, no matter where, then it's the kind of thing where there's no way I could have this kind of piece of hardware situated in all the different places I am over the course of a working week. So it's not it's not a viable option for the kind of work I'm involved in. But that's fair enough. Cool. Some more new releases. IK Multimedia have announced a new set of EQs as part of the T-Racks. These are inspired by classic American EQs of the late 60s and the 70s. Was that something you were craving, Sam?
Yeah, I'm always looking for more modeled EQ. Yeah. So
There you go. You do have to be running the latest version of T-Racks, which is version 4.7. But if so, you'll find these are available, and you can obviously there is an ability to audition them inside T-Racks, and then if they're for you, then there you go. Go from. They are cool. I'm saying I was reading something about what was the it's actually this is sound bizarre segue. I know people enjoy these kind of things, or at least I hope they do. I was reading a Domino's takeaway menu, which pointed out that in the make your own pizza category, there are now so many options that there are more options than people in the world. And I guess this is the kind of thing where now they've added in yet more EQs. I'm sure they haven't got to as many options as people in the world, but that's the beauty of this kind of T-Rack system, isn't it? The way you can grab different EQs, different amps, pull them together, kind of mix them up, and definitely develop a kind of unique individual sound, or at least a unique individual processing method, which it's really cool. And I think those kind of solutions are really great. And if you're interested in particular types of music or such, then these kind of EQs, late 60s, early 70s, have a particular sound based on the kind of hardware that would have been used to make them at the time. So it's pretty cool.
And the great thing about modular systems like this is that you can be familiar with how it works in the workflow, and if you're working with other people, you can, you've got your skill set, but if they want a different sound, you can easily swap in the processing for something, to meet the client's wants without having to sacrifice your own experience in the environment that you're in. So
that's cool. Yeah. Awesome stuff. More new things. Well, at least more announced things. Traktor, Native Instruments have announced a new kind of Traktor control surface, the S8. When I say announced, I really shouldn't say announced. I should say previewed, or perhaps
they've announced their intention that there will be such a thing. Yeah, there's very, very limited information, but there's a YouTube clip which probably focuses on swimming pools, lighting, and people dancing as much as the Traktor control itself. But yeah, the little glimpse of the hardware that you do get looks quite nice. It has a quality screen on it, we can say that.
The most amusing thing that I spotted, the most amusing thing to me was when I went to look at the YouTube page that the video is actually on, because it's from YouTube. It was amusing to see that no matter what you do, there is always a group of YouTube haters willing to comment on your video, which I thought was quite funny. It's like here's a kind of well-produced little kind of preview video of a piece of hardware which we're not going to tell you anything about, and yet some people still had cause to complain, which I thought was quite funny. But there we go. It's new hardware. I'm saying Native Instruments keep turning out hardware, and it always has lots of flashing buttons on it and flashing lights and LEDs, and it's always fairly obvious and easy to use. Actually, I find that, and it tends to be reasonably well priced. So, why not?
I think, it seems like I'd have to. It's been a while since I looked closely at the Traktor controllers, but this new one looks like it'll enable you to not have to look at the laptop so much, kind of thing. I think it's bringing a lot of, by having more GUI stuff on the hardware, means that you're not going to be switching between the laptop screen and the hardware and the hands-on. I don't know. Yeah.
There we go. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yet more new news. Soundsdivine have announced the 2600, which was inspired by the ARP 2600. Okay.
Cool.
It's available on discounted pricing until October. Whenever I see the numbers 2600, I think Atari, and then I think of a really cool kind of magazine.
My mind went to something else that I'll come back to in a minute. So, but yeah, this is for Contact, isn't it? Did you say that already? But
maybe I didn't. I'm sorry if I
didn't. There's an intro price on that available until the 20th of October. Now, what my mind went to was the Casio CZ1 emulator that is due out around about now. It's new software. We haven't mentioned it on the show because it's been only kind of announced that it will be available. But I suspect we're not going to do. There's no show next week, the last week of September. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to come back after and say that it's been released and talk about what that is, because I'm quite interested in it.
If we're talking about things that will be released by the time we come back, then the Reason update will be available as well.
Yes. Yep.
That's next Tuesday.
It is, yeah.
Ooh. Anyway, are we moving on? Are we going to?
Yeah, more.
Move on for the that was the extra things that aren't in the news section.
Yeah, unnews. Well, and even the end of the news now is things that aren't actually available yet, but we have sneak peeks. Cycling 74 have released a video giving a sneak peek at a first peek, they're calling it, at Max 7. So, yeah, there was already a while ago there was a kind of blog post that described some of the new features that are going to be in there. Now we've got a sort of live patching demonstration of it. Not really a talk through of its features explicitly, more just a demonstration of Max 7 in use in a workflow kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. The video is worth watching. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? And there's lots of GUI changes around it and DSP changes as well. I'm not sure how. As somebody who, I have to be honest, I'm actually still on Max 5 and still do most of my Max work now in Max for Live as well, which is also on Max 5. So I'm a bit like, I'm quite happy with Max 5. Max 6 had things that didn't really, I wasn't interested. You have that point where everything I ever think of doing I can do in Max 5. Therefore, it was like, I'm not sure there's much benefit in me spending a lot of time in Max 6. I do every now and again. Like if I start new projects now, I start them in Max 6. But most of my work, most of my stuff is still Max 5 orientated, or initially was. And I'm just saying, I'm not really sure what were people crying out for a new version of Max? I'm not sure. Is it? I think cycling should give us a clear statement of intent. If cycling are going to switch to a kind of more Apple-orientated kind of update sequence, like we're going to do a new version of Max every year or every other year, I think they should make that statement clear, because if you think about it, for people who have been around for a long time, then we're used to a much longer update cycle when it comes to cycling 74 products. If you think Max, I'm just thinking like Max 4.3 to 4.5 was a couple of years. Max 4 up to 5 was a while. 5 to 6 was quite a while. If 6 to 7 is going to happen, is happening this year. There's a bit of an acceleration to the kind of update sequence here now, and I think that's something they should either say this is a one-off, or they should make it clear to people that this is a new kind of update sequence. Because I have lots of big projects, which part of the reason I stayed on Max 5, I've been doing lots of Max 5 stuff, is because I have a couple of big kind of projects that are doing things for people on a kind of commercial basis now, and it was really easy to go Max 5 and support them. I've been supporting them on Max 5 and it works fine. And I'm really glad I didn't bother to upgrade to do the kind of update to Max 6, because that would all have been, that's essentially going to have been wasted effort, because Max 7 will have become the newest version. Will become the newest version. So, I think there needs to be a kind of, it would be nice if there was a statement out of cycling to say what the release cycle is now going to become. Is it going to be this quick, or is this just a one-off? Which is cool. Like, there's nothing, I'm happy with an accelerated release cycle. It'd just be nice to know if this is what it's going to be, if this is the new future of cycling 74 releases. I don't know. There you go. That was just a little whinge. It was just annoying me.
It was. I was. You see, I would have chipped in on my own state of play with Max, but that went on quite a long time. I'm only going to be saying similar things. So, yeah. I
You
did.
can whinge. You can whinge when Max 7 gets announced, like when it comes out in November or whenever it is.
Well, that's it. I mean, I can't. I currently can't see myself going to Max 7 actually, which is, but mostly because I did at one point buy Max 6, before before the grace period where I would have been able to get Max 7. Just for one project, there was some new objects in Jitter,
Hmm.
dealing with physics and models and things, and yeah, I upgraded for that. And but everything else I've done since then has been back. Like I was still in Max 5 because that's where it works, or yeah, even some new stuff. So I've started patching it in Max 5 just because I'm so much more familiar with the workflow. You know, like the enhancements that have been added, although they could make things better, I don't. It's actually taken a knockback on the productivity really. So I don't know. They from 5 to 6 they changed how the 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 windowing method of it. They used to use the juice library, and then they went to kind of native thing on OS X anyway, and it affected the way that things like um, windows that were in front of. It's just occurred to me that I've probably had this rant already on the audio podcast, so I'm going to stop. You have to
In
anyone that.
fairness, in fairness, we did talk about it when Max 7 was rumored in that first post. But the one
Yep.
thing that does excite me about it is the change in the authorization method. So the idea being that you can log in and authorize a version of Max as you move between machines, and that did strike me as being really cool because there are a couple of times when I've built something, get somewhere, they have a usage case I haven't envisioned. I know that I can fix it really quickly, and then I've had to go through, kind of pull it up on my local machine, quickly make the edit, and then kind of push it through the system. I push it through the methods I use to get it to them, so they can then get it with the fix they wanted. And a bit of me thinks that this announcement would fix that usage case, but as I've said out loud, I've realized that it would only work if they had Max installed on a full, a full version of Max installed on their machine running inactively, and that strikes me as that isn't the kind of practice I would encourage people to do anyway. So there we go.
But the Max 7 patcher itself, with its border over the objects around the edge and stuff, like, yeah, looks awesome. And autosave is kind of a nice idea, but it seems to be moving along. They seem to be moving more towards the kind of like we think we know what you're going to be doing, so we've made all these things to make that easier. Whereas one of the things I always did like about Max in the past was the fact that it's just there. It doesn't assume anything of you. It doesn't assume you're going to want to save your work continuously in case it crashes. It just crashes and you lose your work. So you puts the responsibility on you to save it. That's one thing where I'm quite happy for them to autosave, but a lot of in this first peak video, they kind of show use of kind of pre-made patches and putting them together, which again is useful and it shows how quickly you can get to kind of quite advanced things happening with plugging stuff in that's already been made, but it doesn't encourage. I was always liked the fact that you had less steep learning curve where you start off with maths and you build up to the point where you can do complicated things, whereas here you can jump right in and do sophisticated stuff without knowing what's going on behind it, which is fine. That's great, but does it really encourage you to dig deeper and find out what's going on under the hood? Does it matter if it doesn't? I don't know.
There we go. There we go. There we go. We've made it to the end of the news.
Right.
I just drawn a line there. I was like, that's it. Drawing a line. We've made it to the end of the news. There is no other this week, so we go directly to the non-pirate related, but nonetheless pirate-inspired plunder section.
Arg.
There we go. So from the Digital Music News blog, I guess, the 99 problems of the modern music industry. There you go.
It's quite a long article because there's 99 of them.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, though, I thought. Well, I don't know. If you feel like kind of reading something which will facilitate your ability to have a rant about something in your free time, then this is a great article to arm you with numerous things to rant about in the coming future. What better thing could there be? In fairness, it is actually quite interesting, and it is actually it's actually an article which makes the more extreme points it makes are actually referenced, which I thought was quite nice actually. So they will make a statement and then actually send you to somewhere that actually reports accurately on the statement and provides information surprise regarding that statement. So I thought that was quite cool actually. You know, cool. I get it's the start of an academic term. Maybe somebody's out there and they want some sort of essay title inspiration. In which case, there's probably 99 of them there.
Yep.
You know, perhaps. I don't know.
Perhaps.
We made it to the end of the plunder. It's a short show this week, but that's because Adam's not here to complain bitterly about our biased reporting. That is annoying amongst us. So that's fine. If you, the listener, though, have complaints about the content of the show, then feel free to email them to show@theaudiopodcast.co.uk. Or you can send us messages of congratulations and such like that if you wish via Twitter @theaudiopodcast. You can find us on Facebook and Google Plus as well, which is awesome. And if you never want to miss an episode, just hit the subscribe button for whatever you prefer to subscribe to us on. I don't know.
Yeah.
There we go. There's no show next week. We had agreed that, hadn't we? But we hadn't told anybody that prior to you mentioning it in the middle of the show. But that's okay.
Yep. In our embedded other, yeah.
In the embedded news other section. So we should be back in October. We're going to take the last week of September off because, I think the main reason is that both Adam is moving house and Sam and I are both back onto our full teaching timetables next week, aren't we? So
we are. I'm feeling the strain now in preparation for then. So maybe, yeah, it's okay.
Having had the last 6 months off or whatever it is, it's quite a shock to the system, isn't it? Returning to proper work. So we should. Returning to the teaching timetable, you have to be somewhere at the right time. It's a horror. It's a horror. There we go. Anyway, we're just meandering now, so we should bring this to an end. I noticed that I don't know if Sam started the timer.
Oh, I didn't time it this week. See, I'm just not with it. But, yeah.
He's just not with it. There we go. Anyway, I've been Scott Hewitt. This has been the Audio Podcast, show 130, the never ending.
I'm Samuel Freeman. See you in October. Oh, and it's the autumn equinox today. There you go. I always mention that when we record it on the time. So there we go.
See you in October.
Bye.
Bye.